started. So this is Connections Over Coffee. So we're just going to chat this morning. So where is everyone coming to us from? I know we always do that, but I don't know if your life is as crazy as mine, but sometimes once I see people again, I'm like, okay, now what was their story? So Lynn, where are you coming to us from?
I'm coming from Canada, just outside of Toronto.
Yeah, so good to see you again. I love it. I love it that I know. I love that you're on this morning. And I am coming to everyone from Canal Winchester. I sometimes I'm traveling and I'm out and about and all around. We also own a condo there in Florida. So like every other month I'm down there, but I happen to be in the Columbus, Ohio area. So Canal Winchester, just about 8 miles outside of Columbus. Debbie, how about you? Where are you coming to us from?
I too am just southeast of Columbus, near Pleasantville and Buckeye Lake. And boy, is it cold today.
You know what? I haven't even been out yet. Debbie and I are about 30 minutes apart.
Yeah,
40, something
30.
like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. My phone is telling me that it's 36 degrees this morning. So.
And windy.
Yeah. Okay. Rick, where are you coming to us from?
Today I'm right between you and Debbie. So I'm in Carroll, Ohio.
Oh,
Wow.
I know exactly where you are. Yeah. Yeah. I'm an Amanda girl. So I did all 12 years at Amanda Clear Creek and so Lancaster was my closest big city. I was on that side of Amanda. So we'd always come in and out of Lancaster. And then on our way to Columbus, of course, we'd go right through Carroll. So I'm very familiar with where you are. My very first house when I first got married back when I was 18 years old was in Carroll. So
I grew up in Pickerington, and I lived in Baltimore for about 7 years. Baltimore, Ohio, just over there. Slowly made the transition and moved over to Carroll. I've been here about 3 years.
Okay. Easy access in and out of Columbus. So yeah, getting better all the time. We just went to a kind of a state of the city type meeting with our Chamber of Commerce this week, and the overpass, just so you know, the overpass is on the works to go in at Pickerington Road on 33 and at Bixby Road on 33. So there will be no more stop signs or stop lights or people pulling off and on the freeway when everybody else is going 65 miles an hour. So that's going to eliminate some accidents through there and make our transition into Columbus even faster. So good news. Unless you're at one of those exchanges and now you have to like go out around the barn to get onto 33. But the one they did at Carroll is beautiful. The one they did right there at Carroll worked out really well. Yes, I really like that overpass. So Carmela, where are you coming to us from?
Well, I am coming to you from Lima, Ohio. I'm in the office today because I'm going to be out of the office 2 days next week. That's one of those things when you work, I don't know if I should say with or for my husband. So I came in for a short day because I'm trying to get a lot of bankruptcies done and out. And we have a lot in the pipeline today. So I'm going to cut out early today because, like I said, I woke up with a slight cough and sore throat. So I think it's going to be a weekend inside. So I might get some reading done.
Well, I don't know about you, but I love to curl up with a good book. But these days when our lives get so crazy busy, I'm finding that I'm listening to more and more audiobooks, and that seems to work really well for me.
I do as well.
Yeah, I like the audiobooks.
It's cold and we're supposed to get snow, so I think that's like a good plan.
Yep, it sounds like a good plan. So how is Carmela, of course, her husband is an attorney. So when she's talking about bankruptcy, she's talking about their client load. And Carmela, you also have a house in Maryland that you're turning into a short-term rental. How is that going?
It's going really good. I'm going to be making a trip next month in February, again, to kind of like smooth things over. It's kind of hard. I'm doing everything virtually, making connections there. But I've had the past 2 weeks since like the new year and right before, I've had two friends where there's been deaths, so it's kind of slowed me down because I've helped them out, but I'm looking forward to it. My daughter, who's been working from home a lot lately, she's like, she needs a break. So she's like, I really want to go to the house in Maryland so I can work from home there, because then there's things to do, places to go and eat. And I'm like, but she's in her early 30s. So I guess, when you're young and you're no kids, no responsibilities, you can do that. So I may just take her up on maybe you should just go there for half the year and you can cover things, and then I'll come, and take care of things on the other half. But
Well, that's a plan. Yep. We've got that condo in Florida, and we've had it for 2 years now, 2 years December. And so now we're contemplating how can we, maybe monetize that a little bit and work around maybe some snowbirds that want to use it, and increase the budget a little bit so we can have fun in our travels. So Lynn, what are you working on? What is your latest project? What's your hot button this week? What's the big deal?
Well, I'm still where I was last time I talked to you months ago. I'm still in limbo, and I'm still waiting to finish a divorce, and a settlement will be coming, and I am still trying to find that next thing to do. So that's why I like joining your group, to hear everybody else's ideas, to see if I get inspired. I am looking forward. I've got the energy. I'm just got that, what do I do with it feeling? And so I'm still just waiting, hopefully soon, but I've said that a lot.
No, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Come.
I don't wait well. I've discovered that I like to keep busy, and I don't sit around and wait on things very well. So I'm kind of a doer and a planner and a goal setter and all of those things. And so I think maybe if you would list all your passions. Have you done that? I'm sure you know what it is you like.
Well, actually, no, I don't. And that's the other thing. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom for 30 years. So everybody else's passions were kind of my job to see through. And now that everybody's set and everybody's flying high, I'm very happy. I have no worries. Everybody's healthy, everybody's happy, and it's like my turn. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I've got one little passion that will not take me into the future. I mean, I used to be a pilot, so I've got a flying, it's the lesson to see if I want to go back to flying, but that is just a little hobby, big money. So it'll just be something I'll do for fun every so often, but that is not going to be my everyday, all day kind of occupation. So I'm still waiting to see what inspires me. I'm not really ready to go yet until the settlement comes.
Okay.
And I'm open to everything. I'm just thrilled. I got the energy. I'm busting. I'm just waiting to find what to go for.
I get it. I get it. And you know what? The world is wide open for you to do whatever it is you want to do. My Mark is a pilot, by the way. And yes. And he has a couple of airplanes, and Rick, his airplanes are right down there at Carroll at Fairfield County Airport.
Oh, okay.
It's got a Carroll mailing address, but we always consider it Lancaster Airport, but it's Fairfield County, and it's got a Carroll mailing address. So that's where he's home based.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's his passion. He loves it. He loves working on them and flying. And so, yeah, he entrenches himself in that world, but yeah, it's wide open, and I get it. I get it. I kind of was at that crossroads. Yeah. When I retired from the salon industry, I was at that crossroads, and I'm like, what do I want to do? And it's a tough decision. So anyway, yeah, Debbie, what is your big project you're working on? What is your passion for the week or the month or the year?
Well, my words for this year is unstoppable confidence. And I am finding that, boy, that is really hitting home. And Lynn, when you said you are a pilot, and you have all this time, and you spent 30 years with everybody else, you know what the first thing was I envisioned was that you getting a plane and you have all of Canada at your hands. You can fly and visit and see anything. I'm sure it's difficult to fly into the United States, but heck, Canada's got a lot to share. And you know, I think to me, one of the first places I would go is where the best Titanic museum is, because that was one of my favorite movies. But you know, that's what I see for you. I mean, it was like, wow.
That's what I feel. I feel like I've got the whole world, but what do I want to do? I mean, I took an RV, a 34-foot RV, 50 hours north, straight into the Northwest Territories. So did an awful lot of sightseeing and came back. I could take another RV and not come home for a few months, probably more economically than a plane. So yeah, I do like I'm a travel bug.
Okay.
So I
Debbie is too.
Yeah.
That's why that was the first thing I saw for you, was because I love to travel. And
you're right.
And you know, the world is at my fingertips.
Yeah.
And
Lynn, I have a little suggestion. I'll just toss it out there for what it's worth. You could start a travel blog. Just a thought.
Yep, I'd have to think about that. I do enjoy writing. Once I can talk better sometimes with the fingers in my mouth some days. Yeah, I really enjoy traveling. I enjoy just relaxing though. I don't have a blog. I'm looking for a beach. I bought a book and I'm refusing to read it because it's going to be my beach book. And I'm trying to, a friend of going away is trying to meet up, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to meet up with anybody. I want a beach to do nothing. So I don't know what travel blog, but anyways, yeah, that's
I get it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Book if I don't get out of here soon.
You're gonna have to break down and read it. Find out how
I don't want to. I want a beach to
right.
read it on. I refuse. I'm gonna read it, but
I love it. Rick, what is your passion? What is on the horizon for you for 2023?
We're looking at growth for our concept. We have a pizza concept called Crino's, and we spent the later part of last year, and we're just kind of wrapping some things up this year with kind of stabilizing our training, helping all of our franchisees with making the training process more efficient, kind of creating a better training module for any new franchisees. We've also been working with them just on some operational support to make things more efficient, make things more profitable. And as we help them to kind of stabilize that platform, give them something that now they can go to for all of their new hires, for a training website and all of the things that we've developed, training boards and things like that go in their restaurant to help their employees, so that there's not such a pull on the management or needing extra employees. Now we're looking at really pushing the growth model to now that we feel like we've got some things really stabilized, to bring in some new ownership to the group.
So where are you home office there in Carroll?
No, our home office headquarters is in Zanesville.
Okay.
We have 24 locations here in Ohio, and then our first location is going in Florida here in 2 months, and we'll be putting 3 there just north of Sarasota area.
Oh, that's right where my condo is. I'll have to go visit.
Yeah, and so we feel like we're positioned now to start growing more nationally, as well as kind of growing the puzzle out from Central Ohio. We like the benefits of growing from one connecting area to another, and keeping that notoriety or that marketability. Right now, we kind of span everywhere from Cambridge to Caldwell to Mount Vernon to Central Ohio. We've got Pataskala, Reynoldsburg, Baltimore, all the way over to Mechanicsburg. we're pretty heavy east of Columbus in the Newark, Heath, Zanesville area.
Okay.
But we have been approached by people on the outside. We have several locations that we know we want to go into, and actually have several locations as far as specific sites and buildings. It's just finding a good franchisee or someone who wants to develop, and that we would even create a development contract where they would have development rights with, to start continuing to open. We've
Mhm.
had really good organic growth from current franchisees they're successful, and then they open another location, and then once they have two, it's pretty easy to continue to open from there for them financially. But we have goals, and in the next 5 years, we'd like to double our size, and then 5 years after that, double it again. So we have started to also, unfortunately, in the restaurant business, if any of you have ever been in the business, the last couple of years have been really a struggle for a lot of people. It's been kind of an awkward or a weird phase for delivery business, because delivery went up. When
Right.
COVID hit, delivery business went up, and a lot of people's sales volume, especially in pizza delivery, went up, but so did the product costs. We all saw that at the grocery store and everything else.
Mhm.
And what a lot of mom and pop individual locations have experienced is both those things went up, but then sales volume started to kind of come down and mitigate a little bit, hit more of a normal level, but the product cost didn't come down at that same time frame. So we've seen a lot of over the last year, we've unfortunately seen a lot of pizza concepts, individually owned 1 or 2 locations, go out of business. And so something I started doing at the end of last year, and I've been setting up a lot of meetings this year. Just this week, I was up in the Akron, Stowe, Cuyahoga Falls area, is meeting with some of these people who own 1 or 2 independent pizza locations, and just looking at partnering with them before they close the doors, and because their profitability has dwindled, partnering with them, kind of bringing them under our umbrella. Because of our size, we do have large volume discounts and things that we can pass on, and that we get product cost, technology, those kind of things. So we are able to partner with some of these the smaller locations who aren't getting that, and when they become a Krinos concept, they walk into instant profitability because they're no longer paying out such extreme prices. Plus, because of the marketing behind it, we have obviously a larger marketing budget and a little bit larger recognizable name. Their sales start to grow a lot more than what they were used to. So instead of their future looking like they're going to close the doors, their future is now planning to open another location. So kind of two veins that I'm focusing on this year, as far as continued growth with new models, and then also growth by helping some struggling locations to maybe find a better direction.
Love that.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always think that there's always a place for, whenever you're growing your business, to have that area where you're giving back, or where you're helping lift someone else up. And that's a perfect example of what that looks like for a franchise type business. So yeah, love your model, love how you're thinking. And yeah, I think it's going to serve you well. I think that model is actually, and it shows that it's serving you well now, and I think it's going to serve you well in the future. Yes, I love that. Thanks for sharing, Rick.
Yep.
Carmela, what's your hot button? What's your passion? What are you knee deep in this week? I know you're always doing something.
I am. I'm actually it's funny, I spoke to a friend of mine, and I may have mentioned it before, it's been 2 years now. Her and her husband, they sold their house, and right before then they paid off all their bills to be debt free. They don't use any credit cards. They pay cash for everything. And he does little construction on the side. So he travels from town to town, but they bought a fifth wheel. So she spends majority of her time in Florida. And so between Florida and South Carolina, and then she'll come back to Ohio. But I spoke to her this week, catching up, and I was telling her, because I'm always doing something. And I was telling her I was kind of branding myself. And the thing I was going with, the umbrella for everything, was like essentially Mel. So just so it
Now,
kind of,
what Carmela's talking about, and I'll jump in and say this. I teach a course called Build a Better Business, and when we all have so many varied interests, and so I encourage all of the folks that are kind of working with me in building their business, if they have more than one lane, to come up with an umbrella that kind of encompasses everything. And so that's what she's talking about. So go back and share what that title is again, or that topic that you think will arch over everything that you want to do.
essentially Mel. So basically
Essentially Mel.
cutting Carmela off, and it's just Mel, because most of my friends call me that. And it was so funny because I was telling her everything I was doing, and she's like, you can charge for this. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And then actually I directed her to your webpage, Kathy, because I'm like, oh, you have to be. And I said, she's kind of family too. So I go, but she's like Miss Jack of all trades. I go, you remind me of her now. But I told her I've done invitations. Everybody's like, oh, can you do this for me for this event? So I'm getting to use like my Canva a lot and doing things for everybody. But she says you need to charge for that because you're essential. It seems like everybody wants you for something. I have a girlfriend wanting to start a posh, or not posh, but a business online. I can't even think of the name of it. My daughter uses it, but it's when you can go and buy different things from people. And well, I need you to help me set that up, and I need you to do a website for me. And I'm thinking, hello. So this is my year of learning to put myself first. I don't mind helping, but I always fall on the back burner, which indicates, nothing happens for me. My word, I know Debbie mentioned her word this year, but my word for this year is confidence, because a lot of times I lack the confidence that I can succeed and do it. So I've been really pushing myself. I'm trying to read more, and I have to take that leap. So between that, and then I met with my business partner last week to get back into like the real estate arena things. We both kind of took a little hiatus last year, and I said, are we going to do this or not? We just need to get to business and do it. And seems like my oil business is coming along nicely, and I've been having more people contact me more so now. And I've just kind of changed the way I've been doing things a little bit. And slowly but surely, I'm getting active again in church. And I told you guys last time, nope, I'm backing away, but we have new pastors. So here comes Carmela again. Oh, she's the event planner. She's the one that can do everything. And I'm like, holy gee willikers, here we go again.
Well, my suggestion, so that you don't burn out, because you are wonderfully talented and you can do so many things. And that's why everyone turns to you, because they know that you can get the job done, whatever the job is. And because you like to help folks, you do kind of spread yourself a little thin. And that's where you end up putting yourself on the back burner. So my top suggestion would be to maybe list the 3 top things on where you want to spend your time. And that will help you then when all this other stuff comes at you, you can test and measure it next to your top 3 and say yes or no. That way, if it doesn't fit into those 3 categories that you've decided you want to spend your time on, then you can say, I really don't have time, but let me give you a referral to someone who can help you with that.
That's pretty good.
So you can still help by giving a referral to someone else that can help them, but it takes it off of your plate of feeling like, oh, I promised her I would do her website, or unless that's one of your top 3, you want to do website building. So think about what you want your top 3 things to be, and that will loosen up your schedule a little bit, and then refer everything else. And you can even start, because, you are putting together, your business model. There's nothing wrong with having a resource page on your website. And as you find folks that are talented in those other areas, you can add them to your resource page. And then you can just simply tell folks that come to you, say, you know what, I don't do that these days, but I have a resource for you, somebody who does.
That sounds good, because I'm back and forth, in Marion still. So I'll be in Marion next week. I'm actually trying to ease my load with my mom and ease my dad's load with her, as far as getting her into the adult daycare now. So
Okay, well, share with the folks on what's going on there, so they know why that's an issue for you.
right now, my mom, I'm one of 3 children. I'm the oldest and the only girl. So that should tell you enough when you're the oldest and stuff, that everything kind of falls on you. But
And
my
when
mom,
you're the only girl, when it
Yeah.
comes to caregiving, it seems to kind of,
yes. So probably a couple years ago, my mom was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's, dementia. And she has like what they call Lewy body, where a lot of paranoia and stuff goes there. But I don't know if my mom's the only case, because this is like my 3rd time, I should say, on this boat, because I took care of my mother-in-law first and my father-in-law, and they both passed away from it. But my mom, it's closer to home. And I have 2 younger brothers, and they don't like to jump in there. My youngest, who is married to Kathy's niece, he is really the baby. I mean, I don't want to have to deal with anything. So I'm trying to get him to at least visit. I'm like, I live like an hour and 15 minutes away. They live like my youngest lives 5 minutes away. And I'm like, I can't get there that fast. He will call me, are you coming into town? No. But I'm trying to get my mom into daycare, because she thinks there's nothing wrong with her, which is even harder. So she fights mainly my dad and myself. My sister-in-law, Danny, called me like the other week, probably 2 weeks ago now. She goes, have you talked to your mom? And I'm thinking, no, why? Well, she's missing. She's not at home. My dad was in Columbus, and I'm going, you guys, I'm in Lima. How am I supposed to know? So I told her, I says, did you look in the windows? Well, then my mom so happens to show up while I'm talking to my sister-in-law, on the phone. And she got a ride with, no one knows who this person is, to the hospital. She made a doctor's appointment. Only reason I knew that was because I had, how they have like the little apps now for like your check-ins with your records. I have hers on my phone. So it chimed in, oh, you have a new appointment. She went and saw a general surgeon. And it so happened that they looked her up, but they didn't look at her record to see I was her power of attorney or anything, and over healthcare and everything. And they were scheduling her because she's been having trouble with her kidneys. I'm like, she hasn't even taken her other test yet, so we can't schedule anything for her to see. So it was very chaotic, but I think because she's stuck at home a lot of times, and she's used to being active, because my mom was active in everything. And so now to go to being active and being in control to nothing, I want her to maybe go to an adult daycare. She told me it's not her cup of tea, but I'm like, well, you need to do something. But that's been my tough thing that's kind of held me back on a lot of things, because driving back and forth, I take her to doctor's appointments and everything. So, but I'm trying to hang in there and do things to kind of get people involved, because life is short, and now it makes even more of a passion for me to do as much as I can for my mom, because having 2 of my closest friends to lose both their parents One, she died right before Christmas, my friend's mom. And then my other friend, her dad died like the day before New Year's Eve. And they were just sitting there talking, but the whole family was home. And she had asked him, if he wanted snacks before dinner, and he said no. And he simply just closed his eyes after, conversing with the family. And that's how I went. I mean, and I'm thinking that's the way to go. I would want to go that way, but I want to kind of keep my mom involved and active and doing things, but it's been kind of a cruncher where I can't do everything that I've wanted. And of course, you see, I'm in the office where my husband has like probably, when I counted the other day, 60 bankruptcy cases in the pipeline that we have to get done. And that's just
Because
bankrupt.
those are time sensitive. Am I correct? They have to be,
Oh, yeah.
certain
Some of
things have to be done by certain dates. Yeah.
And, and a lot of times, trying to get get our clients to get us information back, because they want it. And that's hard. And he's in court a lot because some juvenile kids just like to act up. They don't want to do things right. So he's getting court appointed to all these little kids and different ones. So it's been chaotic, but I'm still staying positive for this year. I've been doing a lot of reading, and actually I've been doing a lot of the audiobooks because it seems like I like listening to those,
Well, and when you're on the road, it's a great way to get some reading done when you're driving, because you can still listen in and still pay attention to your driving and just listen to a story. It's like listening to the radio. You can listen to some of those books. I like to try to get my walk in every day. I don't always get my walk in every day, but I love to listen to audiobooks when I'm out walking.
Well, I just started back at the gym, so woohoo, yay me. I can listen to them while I'm on the tread,
Yep.
working.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. I love that.
That's my
Carmela, you got a lot on your plate, girl. I don't know how I can help you, because again, I'm about as far one direction as you are the other from from the kids and from your mom.
I know. I may just have to come and visit you, go that way. So I'll actually be in Columbus Tuesday night. My sister and we're going to go see a comedy show.
Okay.
And I'm going to spend the night in Marion, take mom for her assessment. Fingers crossed that she behaves herself.
And if she doesn't, they all understand, because they
do. And, majority of the time I just have to laugh because otherwise I would cry. And so, I know that I explained it that it's not my mom. Yeah, she looks like my mom. Her voice sounds like my mom, but she's not the same person that I grew up with. And so I take that into consideration. And I said, sometimes, in my case, you go through 2 deaths with your parents when they have dementia. That first one being, with their memory and everything. And the second one being when they actually are gone and you don't, see them anymore. So, but I'm trying to make each day count, each day matter. I call, I check in. She had a good moment this week. I reminded her of a date, the 17th. And she remembered that would have been my grandmother's birthday, her mother's. And I said, do you know how old she would have been this year? And she's like, no. And I'm like, she would have been 100. And she's like, oh my gosh, wow. And I says, man, that's something. So it's, it's good. So I'm looking forward to just enjoying, as my mom says now to all her doctors, I don't sweat the small stuff. I'm just wanting to enjoy life, and not have any worries. And it used to bug me when she said that. And now it's like, you know what? Don't sweat the small stuff. Life is too short. Enjoy life. And I think that should be my motto. Maybe I'll put that on my webpage.
Well, I get it. And sometimes when you're, when you're in I'll call it the day-to-day grind, stuff is coming at you. I owned businesses for years, as most of you on this call know. I had 5 beauty salons, and then of course I was what was considered a booth rent model, where all of my staff simply rented a station, but it was a traditional looking salon. And so what happened is, you know, I put all of these guys and gals into this one, you know, salon building where there's going to be a certain amount of issues that come up. And so me being the owner was always, you know, they always looked at me to solve it. And so, you know, and that stuff just comes at you. And I did that for a lot of years. And so that stuff just comes at you on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes you do what you have to do when you have to do it. And you sometimes forget to look at the bigger picture on why are we all working this hard, you know. Don't forget to, you know, as they say, smell the roses along the way. So I guess that's a lesson for all of us. But Carmela, for you, I think maybe just listing your big 3, the big 3 that you want to concentrate on this year, and just refer the rest out. That way you can still help. I know it tugs at your heartstrings that you want to help folks. And I know you have a heart for all of those young people. But sometimes, you know, giving them a referral is just as good a help. You know, let them connect with somebody that can maybe focus more on what their specific problem is. So that's just my suggestion for this year. I'm trying to practice what I preach.
I like that.
Yep, I'm trying to do the same thing and not get down in the weeds with every single phone call that I get, thinking it's my job to solve it. And Carmela, I know you and I are a little bit alike like that. I get it.
I
And
know.
I don't know about you, Rick, when different of your franchise owners call you, I don't know what kind of pressure that puts on you, but I'm sure you're putting together systems and teams, and because it's the only way that you can 10x something like that is to have all of those systems and teams in place. So any comments for Carmela? Any
It's hard when
suggestions?
it's a personal nature. It's hard, especially with your mom that way. It's when you're running your business becomes part of your family. It becomes your baby, really, you know, and there are times that it absorbs you. I never turn my cell phone off. It's always on. And our people know they can call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, or they can call me at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. So I'd much rather fix a problem than to let it fester or them to be uncomfortable or whatever. But I think there's certain boundaries that you set, because you can disengage knowing that this is a professional relationship rather than an intimate family relationship. When it comes to that, I feel for you, because you know, when it's your mom, it's hard to set any type of boundary or space, and it's, you know, when it's associated there, even with your siblings. So that's a hard one.
Yeah, with your mom, you almost have to put her at the top of your all-in list for 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, she's whether she realizes it or not, she's relying heavily on you to make some of those choices. And I don't know about you, but when I was taking care of my mother, I always questioned my choices. I always said, oh, am I doing the right thing? Because I wasn't a medical professional, and I thought, am I making the right decision here? And all you can do, and you just have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am smart enough to figure it out, and I'm going to do the best that I can do. I'm going to do the best that I can do. And at the end of the day, know that you did your very best for her, with her best interest at heart. And now that my mother has passed and I look back, I realize that I made a lot of really good decisions, but I wasn't that confident at the time. But looking back, I can see clearly that those were good choices that I made for her care along the way. But I did question it at the time. So just know that that's normal.
I think that's like that word confidence is really good for me this year, because where I question a lot of things, you know, like you said, you know, do I have the confidence to know that I'm making the right decision in this aspect? And just, you know, me, you know, making sure that I am confident, you know, I'm doing the best that I can, and I can't continually compare myself to, you know, Susie or Bob over here, because a lot of times I'm like, well, what would they do? Or they're better at this than me. And so just knowing that, you know what, Carmela, you put your best foot forward and that's all you can do. And then at the end of the day, just look back, how did it work out?
And she's your mom, so you're always going to have her best life at the heart of your choices.
It's
Yes.
like
Because she's
you know how we are with our kids. And I look at myself, with, Jade, as a mom, did I make the right choices? No one's that perfect parent. And, you learn, but then it's like, when I look at her now and how she is in her career, I'm like, I wasn't a bad mom. I didn't screw her up, she turned out to be okay. And, I'm sure my mom was that way. So it's almost like my mom thought that with me, you turned out okay. You're a good mom, things she's told me. So now reversing those roles, I'm like, taking care of my mom, you did this, I'm giving back to you, I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
You're okay, you're comfortable and things like that.
on a side note, how's your dad holding up?
My dad calls me all the time, but funny story, guys, my parents came over 2 weeks ago. Well, there's a place, Wapakoneta is like maybe 10 minutes from my house, taking the back road. And that's where the Neil Armstrong Museum is here. And there's a Lee's Chicken and they sell fresh fish, catfish and walleye. So literally I drove there to get them fish dinners, and drove back. My parents were leaving and my dad apparently couldn't see where he was driving and hit my mailbox and knocked it down. Now, the funny story is this is the third time my mailbox has been knocked down. I'm thinking people had it in for my mailbox. So it's kind of like, I didn't notice it. My neighbor comes over that night about 7:30 and he's like, Carmela, what the heck happened to your mailbox? I go, nothing. What's wrong with it? He goes, you haven't seen it? I look out. Well, they had left probably maybe 20 minutes prior. So I knew they were going to be stopping at Nathan and Danny's, my brother and sister-in-law's. So I called and I says, when they get there, check the car to see if there's any dings or scratches. My sister-in-law calls and she's like, okay, your parents' car was a little scratched up, but you can't tell them that I called and told you because your dad said he was going to call you tomorrow and tell you. And I'm thinking, why wait a day? Is something magically going to happen by waiting?
So he knew he hit it, right?
He said, I heard a crack. And then your mom's like, you hit her mailbox. And so they bicker like cats and dogs. And so he called me the next morning and said, oh, by the way, I hit your mailbox. I'll send a guy over to fix it. I'm like, don't send someone an hour away. I go, I know people that can fix it. But this time I'm having them put concrete down. So I'm like, how could you miss this big, huge thing, at the end? But usually he'll call me all the time more so. And a short story, it's my stepfather and he adopted me when I was little and we were never close growing up. Oh. Since I became an adult and after I got married, moved off, it's like he depends on me for everything. So he will call, and so it's kind of funny. So it's like, Carmela, can you fix this? I'm like, you guys do something that I tell you not to do. And then call me to fix it after the fact. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, how many kids do I have? I mean, I thought it was just my husband. Now I have the husband, the cat, my mom, my dad. I'm going, oh my gosh. So I'm surprised, that's why I have different color hairstyles and stuff. So I'm like, because the gray is there, believe me. But
oh, Carmela, you have your plate full. I love your stories though. Now you are blogging some of this, right?
I'm writing it down. So I need to do that blog. I'm like, Kathy said blog. I need to blog because now write everything down.
Well, now again, that's one of those things where you don't have time to write it down. So you always say someday I'm going to write it down. I'm trying to work with Mark to start this because we all have stories. And with our connections over coffee, not only are we making connections with each other, but we're making connections with our families. And so I know with Debbie, with her business and where she's going, she wants to leave a legacy. And sometimes that's that's something that's in the back of your mind, is that you always say, someday I want to leave this legacy. And one of the best legacies that we can leave for our family members are some of these stories. What I wouldn't give to have some of my grandparents' stories. And I don't have those. Because again, they didn't have the technology that we have. They didn't write it down. They didn't think, many of them didn't even make it past, 6th grade or 8th grade. When I just go a generation or two back, even my parents didn't make it past 8th grade. And so when you think about having some of these stories, we have the tools and the technology today that makes it so easy for all of us. If we have a Gmail, we have the whole Google suite of apps. And in that Google suite of apps is Google Docs. And if you go to your smartphone, which most of us have, and you can open up a brand new Google Doc. And when you tap on the new document, your little keyboard comes up the way we text and everything. Well, there's a little microphone there. And if you just tap on the microphone, you can just tell the story and Google Docs types it out for you. Now, it's a rough draft. There's no punctuation or paragraphs or whatever. It's just one big long sentence. But the point is that you can get the story out on paper and you can go back and edit later. And Mark and I were having a conversation the other day, and he says that this was his aha moment, that you can have a manuscript without having a book, but you can't have a book without having a manuscript.
Right.
So he decided, well, I'll at least get some of my stories down, and I can have a rough draft manuscript. And then in the future, if I choose to or decide that I want to put that together in some sort of a formal presentation, whatever that looks like, whether you want to create a blog out of it, whether you want to create a book out of it, whether you want to just create, a manuscript of short stories. There's all kinds of things that you can do with that. And it is such a legacy for your family, because those are the stories that get totally lost forever. Once your grandparents are gone, once your parents are gone, and someday once we're gone, those stories will get lost forever. So that's a great way to create a legacy. I know Debbie is in the middle of writing a book. So yeah, Debbie, you raised your hand.
You remind, excuse me, you reminded me many years ago, my mom wanted to go to Richmond to see her mother's sister. She had her, I don't know, 90th birthday, I don't know. And I took a tape recorder with me, those little micro things. And I sat there with it, and I just recorded people with the kids, the family, with their stories, because there's no way I was going to write that all down. And that was the first thing. So it's like, Kathy, I shared an experience with Kathy, and she said, go do a recording, record it. And I did. And it was like, okay, now I have it on a recording, so that at the moment I can say everything that I was feeling and how it happened. And it was so fresh. And, it makes me think, Carmela, you can go and, you say when the family gets all together, I mean, do they share stories? I mean, that's a way, like Kathy said, use Google Docs and just record the stories. Then you don't have to knock on your brain trying to remember who said and what, and, going back and forth. And before, when Kathy would talk about, just talking to Google Docs, it was like, sometimes I don't think about that. But now I realize how important that really is, to get my feelings down and have a recording of it, so I don't have to remember what was said and by whom. So if if anything, that would be my recommendation, because after the first couple times, and you can go back and listen to this, you go, why didn't I think of this earlier? And so, that's my 2 cents worth.
Debbie, thank you for sharing. For some of you that follow me on some of my other programs, I have the Build a Better Business, and we go through how to set up a business. And again, it's more on the marketing end of it, how to set your website so that, your folks, it's kind of like a landing page so that your folks know all the different things that you offer and how you offer those and how they connect with you. And there are website designers out there that do that for a living, but of course that costs money. And so if you're just an individual entrepreneur and you want to start something and you really don't want to put any major cash into it, there's tons of ways that you can create your own little landing page website to get started. And then once you know what products and services you want to offer, then of course it all goes to marketing. How are you going to get the word out? And that's where we talk about blogging and podcasting and social media and all of those things, short of actually paying for paid advertisement. And of course, there's always the option of paid advertisement, depending on what your business is. But again, if you're a little mom and pop and want to get started and you really don't want to spend any dollars, there's a lot of ways with technology the way it is today. There's tons of ways that you can advertise. I remember back in the day, right out of high school, I sold insurance, and the only way to advertise is you had to take an ad out in those weekly newspapers. Remember the weekly newspapers you'd get like every Wednesday or something? And like a little teeny tiny in column 3-line ad was like $40. Well, think about, back in my 20s, and I'm now in my 60s. Think about 40 years ago, what $40 would equal today. That's what it costs to have 3 lines. And then, on Wednesday, hopefully people read through that weekly newspaper far enough to even see my 3 little lines. How many people read the newspaper in that kind of detail? Because on Thursday, it was going to end up in the bottom of the birdcage. and I had to pay $40 again the next week if I wanted to get my ad out there again. So think about what technology is today compared, to what we did then to advertise. One of the first ways that I advertised, and believe it or not, a couple of old timers still will mention this to me. Rick might know where this is. Debbie might know where this is. Have you heard of the little tiny town called Colfax between Lancaster and kind of on your way to Zanesville? Anyway, I had my ad on the side of a bus stop. They had these little tiny metal bus stops where the kids could all go and stand if it were raining waiting for the bus. And I actually had an ad on the side of a bus stop in Colfax, Ohio. And because I sold insurance in Lancaster. And so old timers today will say, I remember when your ad was on that bus stop. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was like 40 years ago. So that's what we had for advertising. And so today the technology is there that we really can, it's really just wide open to do whatever we want to do. But the problem with that is that now there is so much out there that we get confused as to what we should be doing. It's like, where do we start? It's all just so overwhelming. And so that's why you have to break it down. So anyway, I do have all of these different courses. This one, Connections Over Coffee, is just a place to connect. We don't have the water cooler and the big office buildings. If we're all entrepreneurial, we're, as they say, it gets a little lonely at the top. When you're an entrepreneur and you work in a small office, you don't have that social connection like we do working in big office buildings. And I think it's important for our mental health to have that, to know that other folks are in the trenches just like us. And it's all good. We're all pushing the cart in the same direction. And at the end of the day, with Connections Over Coffee, is that we just want to be better. We just want to, Debbie, do you need to go? Yep, Debbie needs to take off. So we just want to be better people. We want to be better for our clients. We want to be better for our coworkers. And we just want to be better. And so that's the whole point of Connections Over Coffee is we get to kind of uplift each other and be there for each other and encourage each other and just be better people at large. And my goals for 2023 is I want to create some more scholarship programs, and I want to give back. I want to get into a position where I can give more and help the folks that just need a little direction, and also financially with the scholarships. So the current scholarship that I have that I've already launched is for anyone that wants to be a licensed realtor. I had a partner that passed away. It's been 24 months now. And I created a scholarship in her name, the Stephanie Mila Jenkins Initiative. And we give away a scholarship or two, depending on how much funds are in the pot. We give away 1 or 2 scholarships for folks that are in licensing school, real estate licensing school, like a Hondros or any type of a school like that. And we will help them with their education cost leading up to their test to become a licensed realtor. Stephanie was a licensed realtor. That was her passion. And that's why we chose that as our initiative. So, but I'd like to do some more scholarship programs in different names. I'm playing around with, how many different nonprofits do I want to have to maintain and file taxes on every year? So we're wondering if the crossroads we're at right now is, do we want to expand the Stephanie Mila Jenkins Initiative to include other scholarships, or do we want to create a whole separate nonprofit for each additional scholarship? So that's the crossroads we're in right now. So we're deciding how we want to go forward. But anyway, that's a little bit about me. So we've been on for a full hour. I'm sure everybody has a busy day today. I know Carmela has all that paperwork to do. She's sitting there in the office and it's calling her name. And I'm sure Rick has lots to do with all of his franchisees. So thank you so much for being with us. Any last words or thoughts or encouragement before we go today?
Nope.
Carmela, you good?
I am good. Look, I got to get through this stack of stuff.
God love you. All right. Well,
Question I had, what was Debbie's business? What does she do? I didn't hear that.
Okay, Debbie actually, she's kind of working her way through what she wants her 3 lanes to be, but she is, her tag is Going Green with Debbie Marks, and she's all about organic, getting the chemicals out of your home, eating organic food. She talks about, health and just she's connected to a larger company that sells a lot of what we call green organic products.
Right.
And that's where her income comes from. But she also is a homesteader. She has quite a farm out where she lives out there by Buckeye Lake, and she is putting together she does all of her own canning and growing and all of that. So she's putting together some courses on how to do some of those things, because folks have been asking her, I want to can and I don't know where to start. So she's thinking about creating some sort of a course schedule where she can do some videos and show folks how to do that, and then ultimately monetize that. And then she blogs as well under a homesteading blog. I don't know what the name of her blog is right off the top of my head, but she also is a blogger.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Go to kathybinner.com and scroll down and you'll see all the lanes that I'm in and all the ways to connect. So please jump into all the free stuff, and we'll see you next time here.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.